Hello everyone, welcome to Kalam IS Academy. Today in this session we'll be discussing various aspects of GS answer writing. We'll discuss the basics of answer writing and the nitty-gritties, wherein you can add value to your answers and improve your answer writing skills. So I'll start with it. Now we'll be covering the strategy as per each particular GS paper. So we'll be starting with GS1. So how to attempt the paper? Now this is something very different for each particular paper. I'll be now telling about GS1. So to attempt the paper, first of all you have to read all questions in the first 5 minutes. So this is my strategy I used to follow, and I'll tell you the other way also. So see, you suppose the paper starts at 9 AM and it finishes at 12 noon. But 9 AM you can start writing, but you usually get the paper 4 to 5 minutes before, so that you can check your paper and if possible read the entire paper, so that you can strategize accordingly. Now there are two ways. So what I used to do is read all the questions in first 5 minutes, so that I can gauge the number of questions I don't know. And basically I used to mark the questions which have little idea, and I used to write those questions at the end. At the end means I will first finish all the questions which I know, and then some 3-4 questions which I don't know I will write at the end, so that I just don't waste time on those questions which I don't know. This is one of the strategy. Second strategy, what people do is they read only first 2 questions in the given 4 to 5 minutes. They write points, think what they are going to write in those first 2 questions. This is because few people think if they read the entire paper, they will be if they read all entire 20 questions, they will be scared, or they might create a negative impact on themselves because they won't be knowing many questions. So it is up to you what you are comfortable with. If you can read all 20 questions, decide there and there which questions you are going to write at, and if you are scared of creating some kind of negative mindset, then you can just read first 2 questions, jot down the points, and then as soon as you receive the answer copy to write the answers, you can start writing these 2 questions nicely. So whatever is comfortable with you, you can do. Now coming to exact subjects, first thing is geography. Now geography is 100 marks. So so coming to the main themes, paper 1 has history, geography, history and society. Geography is approximately 100 marks and society and history is approximately 75 marks. So in geography also you have 2 parts, physical geography plus economic geography. See, marks in paper 1 are proportional to number of diagrams. More diagrams you make, definitely more marks you are going to get. And it becomes very important in geography, because if a geography answer has no diagram, that answer is incomplete. That answer needs a lot of refinement, that answer needs a lot of value addition. So in geography, diagrams are very important, and even thematic maps are very important. So what is the meaning of thematic map? Thematic map means drawing only that part of map which is required in the answer. So again I'll give you an example. Suppose this year a question was on rubber industry, rubber resource, and what is the potential of that rubber industry. So most of us knows that there is no rubber industry as such in central India or the North India. So what you could have done, just make map like this and tell some industries there in the northeast and some in the south part. So that way you make a thematic map in a small box, and you don't end up eating the entire space, so that you can convey your idea very effectively. Another example is, there was a question this year on importance of straits and isthmus. Now one way was making the entire world map and marking all the straits and isthmus in a single map. Another way is, another smart way of making thematic map is, you make sectional diagrams. Suppose you have to show Park State, You draw small India, Sri Lanka, and you say Pak Strait. Suppose you have to show Taiwan Strait, so you make a small Taiwan here, China here, and you tell Taiwan Strait. Or suppose you have to show Malacca Straits, you show that this is Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and this part of Indonesia, and you tell this is Malacca Strait. So this is the meaning of thematic maps. Now coming to the questions of economic geography, this is something quite prominent. And when a question of geography is, when a question of economic geography is coming, you have to write from geography point of view, not economics. So in geography point of view, you have to generate multiple dimensions in the answer. So that is, suppose question is importance of say river interlinking, or some importance of national expressways or highways. So you have to generate link those points with the population, development, settlements, migration, manufacturing, minerals. So these are the various dimensions on which you have to think, so that you can generate a lot of points. So what would be the impact of, say, expressway on the population living around? Development, would it be sustainable development or not? Then again settlement, so how human settlements will shift, or how migration will be there, because when you are making a project, there is a very high chance you will be migrating, or basically displacing the local population living there. So what would be the impact of that particular project on the locals living there, the human settlements? Will it cause migration, reverse migration, rural to urban or urban to rural migration? What would be the impact on the manufacturing industries? Because when you are suppose making a road, so you'll need a lot of things, maybe cement, asphalt, machinery. So a lot of manufacturing materials will be needed. So industries will be needed. And then again mineral. So which kind of mineral you will be using? You will be, suppose say coal is required in road making, or if you are making plastic road, then plastic would be required. So there are a lot of minerals that are required in different concepts related to economic geography. So that way you can generate a lot of points. Now coming to the history part. History has 4 different types of history: modern history, and then we have ancient medieval history, then we have post-independence history, then we have world history, and then all 4 have parallel art and culture. So mostly art and culture is limited to ancient and medieval history. Now art and culture questions, again diagrams are very important, because without diagram the art and culture question looks quite bland. So suppose the question this year was related to Gupta and the Chola kingdoms. So you would have made Dravidian architecture, Nagar architecture of the temples. You could have made the Natraj structure, or the various coins of the Gupta dynasty. So that would add a lot of value to your answer, because they were at the zenith of their particular kingdoms. The art and culture was at the zenith during the Chola and the Guptas. So if you are not depicting their art and culture through diagrams, you are not doing the complete justice to the answer. Apart from the art and culture diagrams, in all 3 histories, basically ancient, medieval and modern, it's very important to mention the chronology, the timelines and the dates in which a particular event is happening. Suppose the question is of say Pala dynasty, so you should mention the region the Palas were ruling, which AD approximate century they were ruling. Suppose the question on modern history is of moderates versus extremists, so you tell which part of 18th or 19th century moderates were on the rise, and then extremists was on the rise. And then important dates, like they had some Surat split, or Lucknow split, Lucknow pact. So a lot of chronology and dates add a lot of value in history answers, and the rulers and the leaders associated with that particular dynasty. Again, suppose we have a question of Gandhian phase, then you mention about Gandhi, Nehru, different governor generals who he had conflicts with, and then different local leaders. Or suppose the question was a Gupta dynasty, you mention about Chandragupta, Samudragupta, Chandragupta II, or Vishakdat, not Vishakdat. So these are the examples that you have to write in your answer to make them more enriched. These are the value addition in the history. And the literature and the poets of that particular time. So in modern history, suppose you have examples of Dadabhai Naoroji, Nehru, Gandhi himself. He used to write a lot. You can quote the books or the journals written by them. Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak used to write a lot of journals. And in the ancient time also we have a lot of poets like Prayag Prasasti was there. Then we have Hari Sen. Then we have Ban Bhatt. We have Kallana and Billana, Raj Tarangini. Then we have Kalidas. A lot of novels, books were written by him. So you can quote these poets, literature, and link with the question. That will again add value to your answer. Then coming to the conclusion in history question, how to write a good conclusion. So conclusion, there are two ways. You can link the conclusion with the next event in the history, or you can link the conclusion with the present time. Both are good ways of concluding questions in the history part of the GS1. So suppose the question is of Chola dynasty. So you can write whatever work was done by Chola was whether carried forward by the next dynasty or not, or the Chola art and architecture, the Chola inscription even inspire us to improve our art and culture. And movies like you can mention about Ponniyin Selvan, it's still minting a lot of money because those rich heritage, those culture is depicted nicely in the movie. Something like that, which is very relatable in the present times, and it should be forward looking in the timeline. You have to link with the next event, or you can link it with the present time. Now coming to the world history and the post-independence. So every year there is a one question in either one of them. So and again it alternates every year. One year it is post-independence, next year it is world history. So devote your time accordingly. Don't put excessive time in that in those particular topics, and prepare only major events. Like in the post-independence you have integration of princely states, land reforms, again very important thing, and then commissions related to linguistic language basis, linguistic reorganization of states. So these are the few important things. Green revolution. So read only those topics. No need to read the politics of that particular time. And for the world history, again read limited world history events like World War I, II, French Revolution, American Revolution, and then scrambling of Africa. Some few major events, colonialism, and few things that are only mentioned in the syllabus. Don't go beyond the syllabus because very limited utility is there for these particular topics. Now coming to the last part, that is society. So society is one of the trickiest topic in the GS1 because interpreting the question itself is the biggest challenge in society. What the examiner is trying to say is itself a challenge in society. So leaving that thing apart, it has a very defined syllabus. A lot of keywords are given in the syllabus. You just prepare them and try practicing PYQs a lot, because a language of society questions is very, very difficult. So in introduction, you can prepare definitions. So you have secularism, globalization, unity in diversity, Indian art and culture, population and its dynamics, poverty. So all things are mentioned in the syllabus. You can prepare good definitions for each of these keywords, and then you can in the introduction add current context or data to add value to your introduction. That way it will look that you know the exact concept or the understanding of that particular topic. And then contemporary examples are very, very important in GS1 society, because they are linking, or the question is of the current society and how things are related to our society, our living. So maybe impact of globalization or communalism, secularism, or the way we are following our religion, our culture, how our culture is different from Western culture, or are we moving towards westernization or homogenization or globalization. So there are multiple keywords. We have salad ball theory, or we have melting pot theory. So these are the keywords that you should be aware of and you should use in your answers. And examples should be contemporary. You should not, if a question is of suppose communal violence, rather than writing some riots say 30 years back, you should mention about communal violence that recently happened in New Haryana, or during the April time. So you should mention about the current examples so that examiner can understand that you know the current happenings in the country. And again, examples should be diverse in the nature. Suppose the question is of homogenization or globalization, you mention examples of society, economy, language, food, work. That way, that will ensure you have a broad range of topics, men and women, technology, no technology. So that can ensure you cover all the aspects of the different points comprehensively. And this is something interesting you can do is add quotes to your answer. You can prepare quotes on topics like regionalism, culture, unity and diversity, communalism, etc. And that quote will be the conclusion of your answer. So that would be, very good summing up of the answer by a quote that is famous and known by all. So again, you have to ensure the quotes should be famous, it should be understandable, and it should be kind of universal. Whatever kind of question is coming of regionalism, so that particular quote should be applied in your answer. So that way you can pre-prepare your introduction and conclusion, especially for the society part, and that will help you fetch again half mark or 1 mark extra. Apart from this, in GS1 there are few repeated themes that you can prepare based on the PYQs. So suppose in history, few themes are Vijayanagar Empire or Bhakti Sufi movement, or in modern history you have moderates versus extremist, questions related to that, or Gandhian phase. These are quite common. And then in society, as I have already mentioned, themes like regionalism, culture, population and its dynamics, they are also quite repetitive. So you can pre-prepare those topics, predict them, and give extra focus on those particular topics so that you can generate a lot of good content.